It was worth it, but it was bad.
It wasn't bad.
It was really bad. It was
It was
corny
not
as fuck, Dave. Like I'm gonna stand on that. Like it was so corny until things started getting good.
Welcome in, everybody, to another horror movie review. And we get to do one of my favorite genres in horror today. But before we do, I am your host, Rob Coakley. Joining me, as always, is Dave Wilkins.
Hello, Rob Coakley.
And Jesse Wilkins.
What is going on, gentlemen? Happy to be here.
And usually we jump off these episodes with a synopsis from Dave. But the one thing I want to lay out before we do that is if you don't know what Abigail is, if you didn't catch any of the marketing for it, first of all, it's a relatively new movie. We are going to spoil it on this review.
But it's an incredibly new movie.
Incredibly new. It's been out for like 2 months. But if you don't know what it's about, I suggest you stop this. Don't watch any trailers on it and just go into it blind. That would be the best way to watch this movie. Now that we've said that, Dave's going to read the synopsis, might give a little bit away, and then we are definitely going to spoil it.
Yes, the synopsis is going to spoil things. Abigail, 2024. A group of would-be criminals kidnaps a 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure. Holding her for ransom in an isolated mansion, their plan starts to unravel when they discover their young captive is actually a bloodthirsty vampire. So I went into this movie completely blind. I had no idea what I was getting into. I did not know it was going to be a vampire movie. I didn't see any of the trailers, nothing. So I'm just watching this movie. And when I find out that the girl was a vampire, I was like, holy shit. I didn't see that going that way. But going in blind is definitely the preferred way to watch this movie. And what this movie did that I liked is it brought the vampire subgenre back into horror where it belongs. So I'm glad this movie happened, because Rob alluded to it earlier, it was one of the best subgenres in the horror genre. You got classics going all the way back to the 1920s. You got Bela Lugosi's Dracula, you got Nosferatu, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Fright Night, Dusk Till Dawn, Lost Boys, Let the Right One In. Just absolute banger after banger of great, terrifying vampire movies. And then it was ruined by movies like Twilight and TV shows like True Blood. So I think this movie was a legitimate attempt to rescue the vampire movies genre from the clutches of pop culture and bring it right back into counterculture where it belongs. So I liked that about this movie. And to be honest, I thought the movie was pretty fun. It was an exciting movie. There was some pretty good acting in it. There was some okay acting in it too. But this movie was fun and exciting, and it was bloody and gory, and it was a scary vampire. And that's what I'll say for now. I'll let you guys take it from here. But my overall thoughts on this movie is I thought it was pretty great.
The movie was kind of fun. It got off to a start where, and I also went into it blind. So were you guys also like died and watched the right fucking movie?
Yeah, for the first
like the first heist movie.
Yeah, for the first 1/3, I'm like, this is just is this going to be like an action movie? What is this?
Right. So it definitely did not go the way I thought it was going to go. I straight up did not like the first half of this movie. Once things started getting bloody, I was like, okay, it's fun. The movie was a little bit fun, right? It was wacky. I did not like when I first started watching this movie. I was like, first of all, I think I'm watching the wrong movie. Then the horror twist started happening. I was like, okay, it's not bad. And rest in peace to Angus Cloud, but this performance was insufferably bad. I could not they could not kill him off fast enough in this movie. Again, nothing to him personal, but the acting performance in this, I could not stand this character. And so, again, spoilers, he gets his head ripped off in the movie. I was like, that should have happened an hour ago before the movie even started. And so that was kind of my take on that. Didn't like the performance from him. Other than that, most of the acting was pretty good. You had Gus from Breaking Bad,
Yep.
He's just great in everything he does. This is a little bit different than what he usually ends up being, which is a secret meth dealer in like everything I've ever seen.
He's still a crime boss, though.
Yeah, still a crime boss. A little tight cast in what he does, but this, I feel like he stepped a little bit outside his box, but he's still like that fancy guy that knows everything that's going on. And this is kind of what he was again. But I don't care. And I love him in everything he's in.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. He's perfect for that role. And I enjoyed his role. I did. I thought everyone else was pretty good. I didn't really like Frank or Dan Stevens' character in the movie. I thought his overacting was a little bit much. And then when he turned into a vampire, I thought he might have been a little bit too over the top. But overall, I didn't really have too much of a problem with that. There were some big holes in the storyline that I didn't really like, but once the movie picked up, it became really fun. It actually did. Once people started exploding and you had the different deaths and people turning into vampires, it was all pretty cool. The two main problems I have with this movie is the ending and the teeth. I thought the teeth were just goofy. They were big and stupid, and they didn't look like they fit in their mouth right. So I understand you got to do vampire teeth. They try to go a little bit different with the teeth, where it's not just the two jagged teeth. It's the whole mouth is all jagged and sharp. I thought it just looked awful. I thought it looked awful in their mouths. It just looked like it didn't. What I love about vampire movies is when the teeth look real. You see them grow, and it's just a little bit different than a regular mouth. This one looked like you bought something at a joke shop and put it and stuffed it inside of your face. I thought the teeth were terrible in this movie.
I thought Abigail looked terrifying with those teeth.
She was the only one that it kind of worked on. Isn't that weird? Because she's the smallest one in the movie. But when the adults had them, I don't know if they just made them way too big or what. But it just didn't look right to me. But the other thing that I loved about this movie was the gore. It kind of had if you watch Rob, I know you've seen The Boys. Dave, have you watched The Boys at all?
I watched, I think, the first episode. I fell asleep, not because it was boring, but because I was really high.
Dave.
Yeah, you should go back. You should go back and watch The Boys. It's not horror, but The Boys is a great show. But the deaths in The Boys are the way that the bodies explode. It reminded me a lot of that in this movie, where the bodies just completely blow up. Where have the bones gone? The bones kind of disappear. The same thing in a lot of the deaths in The Boys, where it's just like a juice explosion.
I would actually compare it to draw it to a parallel to another vampire thing would be actually True Blood, when the bodies in that show would explode into just blood and goo. Also, From Dusk Till Dawn would be another one that was kind of like that.
Yeah. So this movie, like you said, it kind of put vampire movies back into horror genre. The other movie that I thought was actually pretty good that we didn't review was The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I had a lot of fun watching that movie. I'd love to review that at some point.
Did we not review that?
Because
I know I watched it. So
watched it.
And usually if I watch something, it's legitimately for us to review. So.
Yeah, but that was that was a horror movie.
Yeah.
It was vampires. It was on a boat, which I liked, and I just loved that it was a little side shoot off the Dracula movie. But the Dracula book. But we'll go back. We'll review that eventually, so we don't have to talk about that movie.
Yep, good call.
I figure you two might want to review it now, just so I don't have to talk this entire review. So I actually went into this with a different lens than the two of you. I'm very jealous that the both of you got to go into this without having seen the trailers or know what was happening, because I did see the trailer and they do reveal what happens. And at first I was like, man, I really wish that they didn't reveal stuff in the trailer. But my other thought is, how do you market it without giving some sort of reveal there?
Do what Suspiria, the original Suspiria did, and just where your trailer has nothing to do with the actual movie. Nothing. And make it the trailer terrifying, and then just shock your audience when they go in to see it. It's like it was such an original thing for them to do, and nobody else has ever really done it ever since. It's like, but it was so effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. But I do understand why they had to do it. So I'm not mad about it, but my only issue with that is when you know that you're going to have to put that in the marketing, in the trailer and stuff. The reveal for it to happen in the movie this kind of goes on to your point, Jesse. Didn't happen until the 49-minute mark. We didn't find out in the movie for sure that Abigail was a vampire until 49 minutes into the movie, which is almost half the runtime.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that's going to happen, we're not building up to it. I think it should have happened a little bit sooner. I know you're building characters and all that stuff, and that's great, but I still think you could have built them earlier and gotten to the reveal within 30 minutes.
I think that I disagree on that, because when we talk about it, and I think we talked about it in the Chucky review, is you don't need to have a million kills if your kills are meaningful, and your kills are meaningful if you develop your characters, which is what they did, which is why I think this was an effective movie. with when it came down to the kills. What they should have done with the trailer is they could have shown that the girl was captured. They could have shown the captors running from something and something attacking them, but don't show what it is, right? That way you know kind of what the movie is, but you don't know what the movie is. And that way you'd have such a more impactful reveal at that 49-minute mark with your developed characters.
Fair. I get both sides of this argument too. Like, I understand revealing her in the trailer because you're trying to get people to come to the theater, which is not easy to do nowadays. Like, it is incredibly hard. And I was reading an interview with God, I can't remember his name, the guy who owns Blumhouse,
Jason
Blum, and he was talking about, because they notoriously get ripped apart for giving everything away in the trailer. Like,
is this Blumhouse?
No, but I'm talking about Blumhouse right now just to make a point. He said when he was asked about that, like, why do you put everything in the trailer, like, to the point that you spoil the entire movie almost? Unfortunately, based on research, that brings more people to the theater when they see more, which is mind-boggling to me. That
you can show more without showing everything. The problem with Blumhouse movies, and again, this isn't a Blumhouse movie, but the problem is he'll show the best parts of the movie in the trailer, and then you're always. I think that's why his movies get a lot of negative hits. Is because they're always disappointing, not because they're poorly done, but because you already know everything that happens when you go into it.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying they're doing it because his research has shown that is what gets people to go to the theater. So right. I kind of get it to that point. So I don't want to beat a dead horse with this.
Put it this way. Fast and the Furious 3 was what? Tokyo Drift?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? No, I'm just kidding. No, but Fast Aren't you guys glad you have me on this review? No, but Fast and the Furious 3 was Tokyo Drift. And I remember in the trailer of that movie, they showed Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
And that is what put asses in those seats. And Vin Diesel was in the final 4 seconds of the movie.
Literally.
And that movie was so garbage that at the spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen Fast and Furious 3 yet, Tokyo Drift with Bow Wow. That movie was so trash. And we were everybody in the theater was literally there just waiting for Vin Diesel to show up in this movie. We still all cheered and clapped when Vin Diesel showed up. And it would have been a movie that if credit rolls at the end of the movie without Vin Diesel in it, everyone would have got up and booed the movie, right? I've only seen that at one movie in my entire life, and that was the third Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. That where people actually actively booed inside the movie. Never seen it since then. That would have been the other one. I don't know which movie came out first, but that would have been the other one had Vin Diesel not saved it. But the point is, that movie only sold. You had no Paul Walker. You had no Vin Diesel in that movie. That movie only sold because they showed that that little tiny cameo that Vin Diesel had. Other than that, if the trailer didn't have that in there, it wouldn't have done it. So I understand why some movies do this. I also hate it. I despise when trailers give away movies. I try not to watch trailers. And when I'm watching a TV series, I refuse to watch the coming up next week stuff.
Oh, yeah. I never watch it either.
Never watch it. And the wife always wants to watch it. I walk out of the room. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit because you spoil the whole next episode. I don't want to know someone's back from the dead.
Who doesn't die, you know who does. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, it's stupid.
Not only that, I don't watch the previously on because it tells you what's going to happen.
Yeah, it gives you hints on what the storyline is going to, who that storyline is going to cover this week. Like, all right, finally, we're going to know about Jon Snow this episode or something, you know? So yeah, I'm a person who doesn't like to get things spoiled, but again, I understand why it works where movie theaters or movie companies will put these spoilers inside of a movie trailer. So if you don't like that, just don't watch movie trailers. I know it's hard to avoid sometimes. Sometimes you're at the movies and you can't not see a movie trailer, or you're watching TV and commercials happen, YouTube ads, things like that. So hard to avoid, but if you can, try to.
Back to this movie specifically, though. Alicia Weir, who played Abigail, what a phenomenal performance she put on.
That was what I was about to talk about.
Absolutely amazing job acting in this movie. When number one, when you thought she was a victim and you didn't know she was going to be a vampire. If you went in blind, she played a believable character. Even when she was fighting off the attackers, just flailing And then when she switched it and turned it right on to the vampire, she was so scary and so convincing. And just, I thought this was a brilliant performance by her.
I thought they did such like her acting was phenomenal. Like,
Mhm.
and to your point, the wide array of emotions that she was able to go through, from victim to scary monster to manipulator,
Mhm.
when she's in the cage, trying to manipulate all of them
Yep.
into fighting each other, kind of. Just such a great performance. And we talk about, child actors, sometimes have issues conveying a wide range of emotions, which is totally fair. They're children trying to act, which is a very, very difficult job. If we ever release our cake video, you'll understand why. We are not good actors. Not one of the three of us cannot act to save our lives. So,
We're also not children.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like, so as adults, we can't act. These children are trying to act. And when one can pull it off to this level,
This is bullshit, because I thought Dave played a great cake.
yeah, that's a good point. You were a great cake, Dave.
Thank you.
You were a very good evil cake.
Now, while you couldn't see Dave in the video, at home while recording the audio for the cake, because I'm spoiler, he wasn't actually a cake, but he actually put frosting all over his head.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Method actor.
Yes.
And this is the kind of behind the scenes info you get when you watch a horror movie review. So you're welcome, ladies.
I stayed in character all day too. My wife was pissed.
Mhm. Yep.
So yeah, she was great. I liked the tone of this movie, which I thought I wasn't going to like at the beginning, because I thought they were going too comedy heavy
Mhm.
in the beginning. And I was like, I don't really want to do a heavy comedy. But I thought they balanced it well by the end, like where you had some really effective kills, some really effective dialogue, some really good acting. Melissa Barrera in this movie, I think, was one of her best performances I've seen. I thought she was better in this than either of the Scream movies that she did.
Agreed.
Really, really liked her character in here. So I watched an interview with the directors on this, which is Radio Silence, I think is what they go by. So their inspiration was a bunch of different movies, but they really said that they kept going back to the Lost Boys. And
Mhm.
as I was watching this, I was like, I can definitely see that correlation. And Lost Boys is one of my favorite vampire movies of all time, if not my favorite. I really have to think about that list, but it's towards the top.
It's a hard one. It's a tough list to put together because there were so many good ones before Twilight ruined everything.
Right. And there are some other good ones with children. You mentioned Let the Right One In.
Mhm.
If you have not seen Let the Right One In, oh boy, go watch that movie, because that movie is incredible. I actually think I watched that with you, Dave, back in the day.
Yep.
But that movie's great. So anyways, I just thought, I was nervous in the beginning of what this movie was going to be. I thought it was going to be too campy, too stupid, and it all tied together. And I just loved what they did with this movie overall.
Yeah, me too. This was a fun movie. So it wasn't a perfect movie.
No,
There were
not
some
perfect.
issues that I had with it. Jesse mentioned didn't really like the ending. I kind of with you on that. I thought the fight scene was really goofy for a lot of the same reasons I thought Chucky was goofy and I thought Megan was goofy. Was the optics don't work with the little kid who's a vampire and she's like karate battling at the end there. And I thought it was just the optics weren't good. It just not scary anymore.
Yeah, not quite as bad as Chucky, because Chucky's like
No.
toddler size. At least she's like, she could actually punch you in the face if she tried. She doesn't have to
Right.
jump 6 feet in the air. So
And she's a vampire, and if we go by vampire logic, she's
No, I understand that. I'm just talking about optics. It looks goofy. It looks
no,
goofy.
I agree.
I
The
understand.
end scene was, yeah. So it was good and bad. The end. I mean, you get a classic vampire, really strong fight. I mean, obviously the final girl's not going to die there, but there were so many chances to kill her that he didn't. But it's fine. I kind of, she had the plot armor. She wasn't going to die there. My biggest issue with this was the corny pinky promise. Like, you just spent a full night watching this thing murder everyone that you came here with, actively trying to murder you. You know that's not a little girl. You know this is a vampire. And you're just gonna have this Bond at the end, like it's still a little girl. It
Yeah.
just, I was like, what the fuck is this? You know, like I'm like, whatever. It was a fun movie either way. It didn't completely ruin it for me, but I just thought I thought it was stupid. Give me a dark ending. Give me an ending where she pinky promises her and she bites her right in the neck and turns into a vampire and they become vampire killers together or something, or however it works.
Grabs her pinky and rips her head off with her other hand or something like that.
Yeah, give me a dark, evil ending like that.
Yeah,
and or have them team up and like kill her father or something. I don't know, just anything but the. Oh, I guess you can walk home now.
Yeah,
we took a shower before you go.
See, I didn't have as a huge, like, I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite, but that wasn't my problem with the ending. My problem, my main problem with the ending and kind of the movie as a whole is I think Giancarlo Esposito was miscast in this movie. And not that he played his character poorly, he was great. I think that he should have been
the father.
The father.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're setting up this gigantic reveal, right? Like, because her father is talked about the entire movie, right? Like, and you're like, he's gonna show up, right? Like you know the father is gonna show up because they just keep talking about him over and over, this character that you're leading up to, this just insane, crazy, like
I have a question for clarity on your theory here. Are you saying the actor should have been cast as the father instead of the character he was cast, or are you saying they should have been the same person?
I'm saying that he should have been cast as the father. Like, he shouldn't have played the role that he played. He should have played the father.
Okay. I was making sure you weren't saying the roles should have been combined.
No, I don't think they should have been combined. I just think he should have showed up as the father at the end.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because they would have had to adjust the plot slightly if they wanted it to be the same person, because
that's what I was going to say.
Right.
Looked like.
Right. But I think that reveal should have been an actor with some star power, right? Like, I almost like an oh shit moment. Like, oh, that's her dad, and it's, you know, Giancarlo Esposito, Gus Fring, whichever role you want to identify him as. It's like, oh shit, that's her dad. He's a badass, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Kevin James. I'm just kidding.
But
imagine that.
But it should have been somebody with some sway. Like, and not that the father was bad either. Like, he wasn't a bad actor, but that reveal felt a little deflated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they got the right guy for it. Not saying he's a bad actor, but when they brought him in, you expected like some evil looking mob boss type. Like, give me like a Tony Soprano looking dude with fangs or something. You know, like, it's supposed to be someone that everyone's terrified of. Not just because he's obviously, if he's a vampire, you have a reason to be terrified of him. But this guy's supposed to be ripping people's heads off and stuff. I expected. Dude, swap that. No, switch over Kevin Durant with that guy. You know what I mean? Like, and I liked him in this movie. I thought, you know, he played Peter in the movie. Like, someone with that build, where like, oh, that guy could rip someone's head off, even if he isn't a vampire. You know? So when he walked in, I was like, don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the problem with that reveal. It just, I felt like it should have meant more, just a little bit more. That was my biggest problem with the ending. Like, the other stuff was like whatever. I don't think it's a strong ending. It didn't bother me quite as much as it bothered you guys, but the reveal was a little more like, I wish it was somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. This is his house. This is his vampire house, right?
Yeah.
Mob boss. There should have been giant paintings of him all over the house, right? And then at least you have an idea of what he's going to look like when he walks in. Then, so when he enters the room, you're not like, oh, another vampire show. Like, oh yeah, there he is. There's the boss.
Give me Nicolas Cage from Renfield.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Hell yeah. One of the best vampire movies I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even joking. I enjoyed the shit out of that movie.
It was fun.
Shall we hop into some ratings here?
Yes.
Sure. I give this a 4.5 because, and maybe it's just because it's the first vampire movie in a while that I've really, really enjoyed. I didn't watch Renfield, so I can't say that one personally. But I love the genre of vampire movies. Oh, I guess The Last Voyage of Demeter was good too. But I just felt like I was like, oh, good, a good vampire movie again. So 4.5 for me.
Yeah, I had this at a 4.1, and it was just it was refreshing to see the vampire subgenre moving back in the right direction where it should, back into horror, because they're such cool monsters. They're such a scary concept, and they just were made not scary by pop culture for so long. So I'd like to see them trending back in that direction.
timeless too, right? Like just vampires are just timeless. Like I
Yeah.
think you can always have scary. Some monsters are not going to work in the future. I think vampires will always work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, while I respect that, and I do appreciate that this movie is putting, helping to secure vampire movies back in the horror genre, I can't ignore that the first 45, 50 minutes of this movie was a pile of shit. It sucked for the first half of the movie. Second half was fun. Ending was kind of dumb. It's a 2.2 for me. So it's like I understand the importance of the movie, but I'm rating the movie on what I watched. And what I watched was something I didn't want to watch for more than half of the movie. So it got fun when it got fun. I appreciate the movie for what it is. But yeah, no, it was a bad Ocean's 11 movie for the first half of it. It's like Ocean's 2.
I was gonna compare it to Reservoir Dogs, right? Like a watered down Reservoir Dogs a little bit. But so I kind of was with you at first. Not that I thought the movie was poorly done in the first 45 minutes, but I was like, this isn't a horror movie. What are we watching? What is this? And then when it clicked and the movie made sense, then it retroactively made the beginning of the movie make sense. So I think this movie is super rewatchable. I think that once I bet if you rewatch this movie, you'd probably feel better about the first half because there wasn't really bad acting and it was interesting for sure.
There wasn't great acting either. I mean, the final girl was great. Catherine Newton was great in the movie. And obviously the girl who played Abigail there, Alicia Ware, was phenomenal in the movie.
Yeah, Kevin
Actually,
Durant
everyone was pretty good in the movie. There was just a couple of them I really didn't like Dan Stevens in this movie, and I didn't really like him in this movie.
My point is, I understand where like your points because I kind of felt the same way, but it wasn't bad. The first half of the movie wasn't bad. It just didn't feel right until it did. And now looking at it in retrospect, it's like, okay, yeah, now the whole movie does make sense.
It was worth it, but it was bad.
It wasn't bad.
It was really bad. It was corny as fuck, Dave. Like I'm gonna stand on that. Like it was so corny until things started getting good. Now it got good enough where I would rewatch this movie because once murder and vampire stuff started happening and they kind of hinted a little bit towards it, I would go back and watch this movie. I absolutely would for two reasons. Number one, to remember how bad this was. But no, number one is because it's actually fun, right? It is a fun movie. Number two, I would like to actually go back and now that I kind of know where the movie goes, obviously, I'd like to go back and see if there's some hidden things around the house where you can tell that, oh shit, you idiots, you didn't realize that was
That's right in the beginning. Right in the beginning, they kind of foreshadow it with some bat gargoyles or something at the house that they're going to take her from.
Yeah.
So there is some foreshadowing.
But you watched the trailer, so you know to look out for it.
But I also knew that too. That's the point. Yeah.
That could be fun to go back and see what kind of foreshadowing was going on in the house. And you knew something evil was there, right? Like they kind of hinted towards something evil lurking in the basement. But no, I'm going to stand on that. I straight up didn't enjoy it. I think if they did a little bit things different, if they didn't start the movie with the heist, if they started the movie, because they kind of just mixed in some character development in the middle, maybe start the movie with your final girl. You know, if you start it with, she was Joey in the movie. So if you start with Melissa's character and she goes through and maybe you go through like one of her first jobs and then how she gets linked up with this weird team. And maybe that could have been a different approach, but to start it with that action scene of going in and doing the kidnapping, I was just immediately like, this is fucking stupid, but whatever. It is what it is. Again,
it would have worked if it was a heist movie. Like it wasn't bad. If it was a heist movie, it would have been fine because you expect that. But
it wasn't that good for a heist movie.
It's not going to win any awards for.
It felt like a made-for-TV thing. It looked like something you'd watch in the middle of the day on TNT or something like that. It was just like everything that you thought was going to happen happened in that beginning setup. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's just because it took so long to get to the good stuff. I can't give this a much more than a 2.2 or whatever I just gave it. So.
That's Jesse Wilkins, by the way, that gave it a 2.2. So if you want to come after anybody, that's who you come after.
I don't think this is going to be a cult classic. There isn't going to be.
Oh, I will disagree with that. I think this is going to be quite a cult classic, to be honest with you.
You guys are too kind. You're too kind to this movie.
Last week, Rob apologized on my behalf for all the Chucky hate that was going to come at me. And 100% of the people that have commented so far agree with me. So go fuck yourself.
Yep. I still like chicken breast though, and we'll end it on that.
Chicken breast is great. That's gonna do it for this horror movie review. Let us know what your score for Abigail is in the comments or shoot it over in Discord. Do you agree with me and Dave, who gave it some pretty high scores, or this guy over here who decided to give it a 2.2? Anyways, That's going to do it for myself. My name's Rob. That was Jesse and Dave. We'll catch you next
Jesse, you gave this a 2.2 and you gave Child's Play like a 4 point whatever. 3
Yeah,
or whatever.
I had fun the entire time I watched Child's Play. Was I scared? No, I wasn't scared during this movie either. But watching Child's Play start to finish, I was like, this is awesome. It's dumb, but it's awesome. This movie, I was like, it's dumb, but this movie, for at least half the movie, you watched it too, and you probably were thinking the same thing I was thinking for the first half of the movie, which is, this is dumb and it's dumb. And then it got good. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. We'll catch you guys later. We're going to continue this fight off air. Bye.